Alkaji, can you see me okay? And can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So then we shall start. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, the primordial sound. Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Avatu. May we both, you and me, be protected. Sahanau Bhunaktu, may we both be nourished. Sahaviryam Karavavahai, may we work together with energy and vigor. Tejasvinavadhitamastu, may our study be enlightening. Ma Vidvishavahai, let there be no misunderstanding or animosity between us. Peace be, peace be, peace be. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Salutations to Ganesha, the Lord of obstacles, the cause and the removal. Both are under the control of Ganesha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha, the flow of knowledge and wisdom, the embodiment and the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Salutations to the Gurus and Guru Parampara. Your Gurus, my Gurus, and their Gurus. Om Sabhayai Namaha. All of you, for your attention today. Salutations. Shri Matre Namaha. Salutations to Mother of all. Go Matre Namaha. Salutations to Mother Earth, cows, and Vedas. Gita Matre Namaha. Salutations to Mother Gita. Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha. Salutations to Jagadguru Krishna. Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is the abstract, is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Last session, we tried to cover first 28 verses. I know I did not do the justice. I will try to bring in some of the points which I discussed in the last session for about 10 minutes. And then rest of the 40 minutes or so, we will talk further until 54th verse. Second chapter has 72 verses, one of the longest chapters. 18th chapter has 78 verses. So Sankhya Yoga, and we know why it is called Sankhya. It is not Kapila Sankhya Shastra. Samyak Khyatam, the one which is well said, is Samkhyam, Sankhya Yoga. And it begins with Arjuna's despair once again. Sanjaya narrating to Dhritarashtra the state of Arjuna with the opening verse. Sanjayo vacha tam tadha krupaya vistam ashrupurnakulekshanam vishidantamidam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. That Arjuna, whose eyes are filled with tears and shaky with nystagmus movement, and who is overwhelmed with undue compassion, and whose intellect is shattered. Such an Arjuna, he argued, or he put forth his ideas in the first chapter. And Krishna was just silent all through the chapter. And here, when Arjuna fell silent, Krishna gave a rebuke with two most powerful verses, as Swami Vivekananda says. The most powerful verse in the second chapter is the third verse. The second and third verse in the second chapter go together. So they go like this. Kutastva kasmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya justam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. O Arjuna, where did this perilous state come upon you in this critical situation? This is very ignoble, anarya justam. It doesn't take you to any higher planes, asvargyam. And it doesn't give you any fame, akirtikaram, O Arjuna. And the next verse, Klaibyam asmagamah partha naitatvayupapadyate kshudram hrudaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. Klaibyam asmagamah. Do not yield to this unmanliness. Etat tvaye na upapadyate. This does not befit you. This is not of your standard. You are much more than this. Kshudram, hrudaya daurbalyam. This pettiness, this weak and meek-heartedness, tyaktva, giving it up, uttishta, O Parantapa, O chastier of enemies, and O Arjuna, the one who is craving to know something more about the life and the Lord and the self. Now, it is Krishna's responsibility to remove Arjuna's shoka and moha. Shoka and moha. Shoka, the sorrow, and moha is a delusion or a wrong. Not right as right. So these two verses are very powerful. And we talked about from verse 11 onwards, where the teaching starts after Arjuna surrenders. We did talk about the surrender and the importance of it, the most powerful verse. And this verse, if you can memorize, कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्या निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. When you're caught in dilemma, when you're caught in a conflict, when you don't have a solution to the problem, if you can contemplate, chant, read, or remember this verse, you will find the solution. So ask. I did tell about ask, ask. A, ask, it shall be answered. Yes, seek, you shall find. K, knock, knock the door of this divinity. And now you will find the infinity. So knock the door and it shall be opened. The immortality of the soul is now taught from verse 11 till verse 30. In 20 verses it has been taught. Verse 11 onwards. So we see this Atma Tattvam, Atma Tattvam, the nature of Atman, the nature of Atman. So this is the crux of the teachings. So now we will leave aside the war for a moment. Arjuna's arguments are answered. As we go through, you will see, not particularly, a question and answer, but we have to pause and we have to contemplate and actively think about Oh, this is the answer for Arjuna's question, and we'll see that too. So the Bhagavad Gita's teaching to all mankind is Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata. Don't worry. Don't worry. Because the teaching begins with, from the 11th verse, the main teaching, begins with the 11th verse and ends with the 11th verse of the second chapter and ends with the 66th verse of 18th chapter. So in Vaishnava Sampradaya, that's called Charama Shloka. Charama, the ultimate shloka. And this is the opening verse, Prathama Shloka teaching. Ashocyananvashocastvam. So Bhagavan says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Ashocyananvashocastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasuna gatasumscha nanushocanti panditaha. Ashocyan anvashochaha tvam. O Arjuna, you have just grieved about something and someone who is not and who are not grieve worthy, worry worthy. And as we move on, in the 11th chapter, we see this great verse again after the Vishwarupa Sandarshana, when Arjuna was so frightened. Krishna says, Mate vyadha macha vimodha bhavaha. Let there be no perturbation, let there be no worry for you, O Arjuna. And in the 16th chapter, once again, we see this Mashuchaha. Mashuchaha, worry not, because Mashucha Sampadam Devi Abhijatosi Pandava. You are born as an immortal child. And finally, in the 18th chapter, 66th verse, 66th, this great verse, most of you know, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Moksha Ishyami Ma Shuchaha. Offer everything unto me and worry not. And we shall discuss these verses much more as we go by. So, verse number 11 in the second chapter, opening verse, Ashocyananvashocastvam. After the two hammer blow verses, then 11th chapter in Vishwarupa Sandarshana, 49th verse, Mate vyadha macha vimodha bhavaha. And 16th, Daivasura Sampad Vibhaga Yogaha, Mashucha Sampadam Daivim Abhijatosi Pandava. Do not worry. You are the children of immortality. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. Amrutasya putraha. And 18th chapter, 66th verse, Mashuchaha, Mashuchaha. And in the second chapter, Suresh Ji one day has nicely put in these together. As you can see, you will see this again and again in the second chapter. Grieve not, worry not, natvam shochitum arhasi. You ought not to grieve. You're not meant to grieve. Natvam shochitum arhasi means you're not meant to grieve. Naivam shochitum arhasi. You should not grieve in this way. There are better things to worry about. We talked about what Krupanatvam is. Worry about that we have not understood about ourselves, about the higher self, and then about others. Nanu shochitum arhasi. Just keep on worrying. That's not what you should do. Naivam papam avapsyasi. You said papame vashaye dasmat hatvaita natatayinah. You're saying that these atatayins, these terrorists, by killing them you'll incur sin. No, by not doing the duty you will incur sin, O Arjuna. Not doing your kshatriya duty. We'll come to that next. Karma bandham prahasyasi. When you do this as a karma yoga, then you will be relieved of all the bondage. And this Atma Tattva, as I said, from 11th chapter onwards, 30th verse, 20 verses, very profound, and they talk about this Atman, Brahman, Avyakta, unmanifest, Atman, all-pervading, Brahman, Bruhatvat, the greatness, and there are many more meanings, Avyakta, unmanifest, Akshara, imperishable. Avyaya, indeclinable. Aja, unborn. Ajara, does not get old. Amara, no death. Ananta, no end. Aprameya, immeasurable. God, G-O-D, the generator, operator, and dissolver. And we say Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat, ever existent. Chit, the consciousness. Ananda, the bliss. And it is also called Asti. Asti means it is there forever. Bhati, it shines. It's the innate shining power. Priyam is bliss. So these names are profound. Beyond these words and our mind, and only in silence, my friend, the God is to be found indeed. Then why say in words? This is all that we can describe so that we can contemplate, and in our silence we can find that God who is unmanifest, unlimited, and unimaginable. Achintyam, avyaktam, anantam, eternal, shashvatam, effulgent and empowering, unthinkable and untouched in any which way. The God is all-pervading, Atma, in every which way. Subtler than the subtlest, Anoraniyan, yet greater than greatest, Mahato Mahiyan, I said in Kathopanishad, immutable, omnipotent, and all-illumining. Veda Vinashinam Nityam, Yayenamajam Avyayam, omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, absolute and ancient, Sanatanam, Puratanam, very old, nay, ever aging but never old, as Swami Ranganathananda says, ever aging but never old, Pura api nava iti. So these verses talking about Atma, Brahma, Atman or Brahman. Brahma means not Brahmaji, Brahman, Brahma Tattvam, is Pura api nava iti. Even though it is said ages ago, but it is pertinent even now and for ages to come. Birthless and deathless, ageless and genderless, nameless and formless, God is changeless. Thus we were told. And these verses, if it is difficult to remember all the 20 verses, Swami Bodhananda says at least first 4 verses, if you can remember. I shall just chant them. Ashocyanan vasochastvam prajnavadamsha bhashase gata sona gata somscha nanvashochanti panditaha. Swami Bodhananda says, these 4 if we can memorize, it will give us enormous peace, enormous understanding. Natve vaham jatu nasam, natvam neme janadhipaha, nachaiva na bhavishyamaha, sarve vayamata param. Dehinosmin yadha dehe, kaumaram yavvanam jara, tatha dehantara praptihi, dhirastatra na muhyati. Matra sparshastu kaunteya, शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखदाः आगमापायिनो नित्याः तान् स्थितिक्षस्व भारत. This matra sparsha, the contact of the sense organs with the sense objects, will give rise to either pleasure or pain. And they come and go. And we have to learn to understand them, to understand the transient nature of them. And titiksha, the tolerance, is what is taught here. And we talked about this at length, and the poem, even this shall pass away. You have to refer to the first session, the recording is there. And this great verse, an ornamental verse, वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. If someone has to announce an obituary, this verse is very famous for that. But if we contemplate on this, see how beautifully it is said with a simile, with a metaphor. The metaphor is just we when our garments are old and dilapidated, when we just throw them away and then acquire the new ones. In the same way, Dehi is within this Deha. Kshetrajna is in this Kshetra. Shariri is in this Sharira. Purusha is in this Pura. We will talk about these terms as we go by. So that Dehi, that Shariri, that Kshetrajna, that Purusha, then he takes up another body. And this underneath the inner sheath lies the Atman. Understand the higher truth, the Brahman. Dissect the sheath, inspect the truth, explore each layer, expound the rich prayer. This was Samsi Jirnani. We peel off the clothes that are old to wear all new, shining like gold. So does Atman, leaving the body that's used, takes up the new to be raised. Garments for the body are like beautiful wreaths. It's the Atman that enlivens and infuses the vital breath. It is the body and mass that is aged and bruised, but it's the Atman that's veiled inside, revealed in silence when you understand. The wise roar that Atman is covered by 5 sheaths, the Panchakoshas. Panchakosha, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya koshas. Then Panchakoshantarasthitayai namaha, we say this Atma is inside these 5 sheaths. So that is said in this. And then there is talk about the death and birth. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyate natvam shochitum arhasi. If you think you can't understand the nature of this Atman, we see people dying and we see people being born. So yes, this happens for whoever is born. There's one thing which is certain, that we are ought to die. We all are ought to die. And when we die, this Sanatana Dharma of ours is dependent on 3 major principles. Karma, Dharma, 4. Karma, Dharma, Brahma, and Punarjanma. So if you believe that, so this happens again and again until the cycle is broken with the jnana. So once we are realized, so then the cycle is broken. So death and birth. So it's like sunset and sunrise and the cycle of life. Life goes on without an end. Behold this truth, my friend. Here in this earthen world, all beings come to an end. For death is a brutal truth, and the rest all is mere myth. So Krishna is teaching the crux of the knowledge and the wisdom and the essence of all our Shastras here. In fact, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad starts with death. First there was death. So neither you nor me, for that matter, not even the master, can deter the death. For must he revolve the cycle of life and death. Birth after death and death after birth is the dawn and dusk of life. So says Eastern philosophy. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyate natvam shochitum arhasi. Lament not, worry not, grieve not. So that's the last session, summarized a little bit. I know I have not done the justice. We'll move on from verse 29 today. And this verse is one of my favorite verses. Actually, it's so profound. If you look at it, how much did we understand Bhagavad Gita? How much do I know? How much do we all know? And how much the people who say that they have read Bhagavad Gita know? And in fact, one of the Swamiji says, never say that I have read Bhagavad Gita. Just say, we are reading Bhagavad Gita. I am reading Bhagavad Gita. I am studying Bhagavad Gita. Because Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah, Ascharyavat chainam anyashrunoti, Srutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit, Ascharyavat kaschit enam pashyati. Kaschit, someone looks at this as a wonder, as an amazing thing. Ascharyavat vadati tatha eva cha anyaha. Another one talks about this as a wonder. Ascharyavat cha enam anyaha shrunoti. Others listen to this as a wonder. But having said, having seen, and having heard, still it is much more wondrous, and still it is amazing. So once more the verse. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam, Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyah, Ascharyavat chainam anyashrunoti, Shrutvapyenam vedana chaiva kaschit. Some see it as a wonder, some say it as a wonder, some hear it as a wonder. Having seen, having said, and having heard, it still remains a wonder of the wonders. In Kathopanishad, we see a couple of verses, and one of them, here it is. Shavanayapi bahubhiryo na labhyah, Shavanayapi bahubhiryo na labhyah, Shunvantopi bahavo yamna vidyuhu, Ascharyo vakta kushalosya labdha, Ascharyo jnata kushalanusishtaha, Ascharyo vakta kushalaha asya labdha, Ascharyaha jnata kushalaha anusishtaha. Even to hear of the self, it's rare. Shravanayapi bahubhiryo na labhya. Many who hear of it do not comprehend. Shunvanto api bahavaha yamna vidyuhu. Wonderful is a teacher who can expound it. Ascharyo vakta kushalosya labdha. That's why if we get a good teacher, it's a treasure. Like we say when we get dhanam, we call dhanavan. And in our Upanishads, Acharya Van we say, because I have an Acharya, I have a Guru. So, Acharya Van. Ascharyo Vakta Kushalosya Labdha. Ascharyo Gyata Kushalanusishtaha. Wonderful is the student who can grasp it when taught by an adept teacher. So, this verse 29. Then, Krishna tells Arjuna, because Arjuna, being a Kshatriya, being a modern man, being like you and me, a working force, a logical person, he can only understand if these 8 verses are said. And Krishna says these 8 verses, and one of the commentators, Vidya Prakashanandagiri Swami, calls this as Dharmashtakam or Swadharmashtakam. Ashtakam means octad, 8 verses. O Arjuna, Swadharmamapi chavekshya navikampitum arhasi dharmyadi yuddha shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. O Arjuna, even if you look at your swadharma, your duty, your responsibility, and your employment, you have been crowned as one of the princes. Even from that point of view, Swadharmamapi cha avekshya navikampitum arhasi, there is nothing to shake, there is nothing to fear about. Because for a kshatriya, dharmyadi yuddhat shreyaha anyat na labhyate. There is nothing better than war for a kshatriya. Yadruchaya chopapannam swargadvaram sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrusham. And it has come for you. It is at your doorstep. You didn't want it, and it has come upon now. Because for a kshatriya, war is important. For a teacher, a teachable moment is important. For a trader, for a businessman, suppose a great trade has come for a businessman. Do you think he will let go? And for a serving person, a great opportunity has come to serve. Do you think any person with common sense would let it go? So for kshatriyasya na labhyate yadruchaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavrutam. Now the swargadwaram, the gates of the heavens are opened for you, O Arjuna. And it has come upon just so incidentally for you now. You are not longing for the war. Yadruchaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavrutam sukhina kshatriya partha labhante yuddhamidrisham. अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि. If you do not follow this dharma, this duty, this responsibility of yours, imagine the army chief, if he is not willing to operate and if he is not ready to execute Operation Sindhu, how do you feel? He is the prince upon there, representing all of us, fighting on behalf of Dharma. So, imam dharmyam, this is Dharma Yuddha. You are taking care of Atatayins, the terrorists there. And we talked about Atatayins. If you do not do this, hitva, Swadharmam hitva, dharmam hitva, papam avapsyasi. You only incur sin. You were talking about papame vashaye dasmat hatvaita natatayinaha. Not that. You will incur sin if you don't do the job right here. And for us, we are not kshatriyas, we are not soldiers, but each of us have our own responsibility, our own duty, and our own swadharma. Swadharma, we have our dharma as a son, a daughter, a father, a mother, a brother, a student, a teacher, a worker, an officer, and so on, and so on. So we have to fulfill our duty and responsibility. Duty first, duty first. Then if you don't do this, akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam sambhavitasya chakirtihi maranadati richyate. You say maranam is better. You said that in the first chapter. What did you say? Dhartarashtra rane hanyuhu tanme kshemataram bhavet. Ashastram shastrapanayah. I will just give up my bow, Gandhiva and arrow. Let them with the weapons kill me. You think that killing, that death is better. No. Here there is something worse than death. What is that? Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayishyanti te vyayam, te avyayam, sambhavitasya cha akirtihi maranadati richyate. For a man like you, O Arjuna, akirti, this infamy is worse than death. And what do people think? Your Bhishma and your Drona, you're talking about Katham Bhishma Maham Sankhe, Dronam cha Madhusudana, Ishubhi Pratiyotsyami, Pujarha Varisudana. How can I throw the arrows? How can I shoot the arrows against Bhishma Pitamaha and Drona? And they, what do they think of you? Bhayad ranadu paratam mansyante tvam maharathaha esham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. They think very mean of you and they just laugh at you and they laugh at your back also. And they think that you out of fear ran away. You fled away from the warfield. Avachya vadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaah nindantavas samathyam tato dukkataram nukim. Once more I'll read. Avachya vadamscha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaah nindantastava tato dukkataram nukim. So this Avachavadan, they talk so much about you. They talk so bad about you at your back. And what is worse than that? But Now if you fight, O Arjuna, hato va prapsasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. If you die, if you sacrifice yourself in this endeavor, you will go to Swargaloka, you will go to heavenly planes, heavenly abode. If you win over, because yadva jayema yadivano jayeyuhu, you said, we don't know whether they will win over us or we conquer. We don't know, and we don't know what is right. And now I'll tell you, both results are fine, O Arjuna, for a Kshatriya, because hato va prapsasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim. So if you win, you will enjoy the kingdom. If you lose, you will go to Swargaloka. So that's why. So win or lose, success or failure, pain or pleasure, have that even-mindedness. Sukha dukkhe same krutva labha labhau jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Now fight this war because you are destined to do this, because you are employed for this, because it is your responsibility and it is your prime duty to fight this war. And why? Why is it prime duty? And why is it his responsibility? Because Arjuna is a Kshatriya. And what does Kshatriya mean? In Parashara Smriti, the definition of Kshatriya is given like this. Kshatriyo hi prajarakshan. Actually, Kshatriya, the etymology, if you look at Kshata, Kshata means injury. Kshatat trayate, the one who protects us from being injured. All our soldiers, all our army people are Kshatriyas because they protect us. They protect us. So salutations to all of them. We celebrated Memorial Day. We celebrate Veterans Day. And we celebrate the Ancestors Day, Thanksgiving. So Kshatriya, Kshatat the one who protects us from injury or getting injured. Praja Rakshan. Praja means all of us. Rakshan, protects. Shastrapanir Pradandayan. And he has a bow and arrow. He has a weapon because he's entitled for that. He's entitled for that. So that Shastrapani Pradandayan. So he has to discipline and instruct the people when they go array, when they are not following the rules of the society. Nirjitya parasainyadi. Para means enemies. So Nirjitya, having won over the enemies. Kshitim dharmena palayet. Kshiti means this earth. Dharmena, with dharma, palayet. So rule this world righteously. So that is Kshatriya. Kshatriyo hi prajarakshan shastrapanir pradandayan nirjitya parasainyadi kshitim dharmena palayet. And why go to Parashara Smriti? We have in Bhagavad Gita in 18th chapter, 31st verse, we talk about Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. We'll talk a little bit more when we get there. But what are the Kshatriya Lakshanas here? The Kshatriya Lakshanas are Shauryam, Tejo, Dhrutir Dakshyam, Yuddhe Chapya Palayanam, Danamishwara Bhavascha, Kshatram Karma Swabhavajam. Kshatra means Kshatriya Swabhava. What is the nature of Kshatriya? Shauryam, heroism. Tejas, the power. Dhruti, the determination. Dakshyam, the dexterity. Yuddhecha api apalayanam. Palayanam means fleeing away, running away. Apalayanam means not showing your back. Like in Spartan, the movie, and about the Spartan world, the mothers used to say to Spartans, the soldiers, that go, fight, come back, either come back with the shield or on it. That means you either come back with victory or you sacrifice yourself in the loss. So you come back with the shield or on the shield or armor. So that is how. Yuddhecha api apalayanam. Yuddhecha apyapalayanam. not fleeing, not running away from the war field. Dhanam, generosity. Ishvara bhava, the leadership quality. So these are Kshatriya Lakshanas. Kshatriya Lakshanas. In 18th chapter we see this. So just to have an understanding, these three words are very, very important to understand. I thought about it, and then again, a few weeks later, Swami Bodhananda spontaneously said, Raju, did you ever realize that these three terms are very profound? So, Swadharma, Swabhava, and Swarupa. Swadharma, one's own duty, one's own responsibility. And we'll talk a little bit more. It's just one way of looking at it, and then there are more meanings, and there can be interchangeably used sometimes. Swabhava. Swabhava is one's own innate nature. We have these three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. And the interplay of all these, the permutations and combinations of these. When we come to 14th chapter, we'll talk about this. Then Swarupa. Swarupa is our own, the true self, the true essence, the inner self, the inner nature, that we are nothing but that consciousness. We are not separate from that supreme consciousness. So that when Guru says Tat Tvam Asi, when we experience Aham Brahmasmi, that is Swa Swarupa Anusandhanam. So Swadharma, Swabhava, Swarupa. Then this teaching, Ashtakam, ends with this verse, Sukha Dukkhe Same Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo Tato Yuddhaya Yujyasva Naivam Papam Avapsyasi. And then there is another important teaching. So this Sukha Dukkhe Same Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. So when Same Krutva, Samam Krutva. So Sama is another great word from Bhagavad Gita that we have to lift, to contemplate upon. Now, the three verses in the second chapter, they define yoga. They define yoga. And what is yoga? A very revolutionary definition given by Krishna for yoga. Because there are many umpteen definitions of yoga. But you will find this very, very impressive definition given by Krishna. What is that? योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते. Yogasthaha, be established in that yoga. In next couple of minutes, I will go over the various definitions of yoga and what yoga means. So, but be established in that yoga. Yogastha, like we say gruhastha. Gruhastha means you are stationed in a gruha. Swami Chinmayananda used to say, chairastha, now I am seated in this chair. So similarly, yogastha, be seated in that yoga state. Then Sangam Tyaktva, be detached. Again, Swami Bodhananda's great saying, detached engagement. Detach completely, but engage fully. O Dhananjaya, siddhi asiddhi. Siddhiyoho asiddhiyoho. So siddhya siddhyoho. In siddhi and in asiddhi. Siddhi means accomplishment. Asiddhi means not accomplished, failure, success or failure. Samaha bhutva, you do your work, you perform your duty. And this is called yoga, the evenness of the mind in receiving the failure or success, but doing your work so efficiently. That is called yoga. Because they're great people, buddhi yukto jahati ubhe sukrita duskrite tasmat yogaya yujyasva yoga karmasu kaushalam. So these buddhi yuktas, these great yogis and great people, and we'll talk about these great people in Sthita Prajna and other lakshanas, they sukrita or dushkrita. So there are acts which we like and there are acts that which we don't like. There are so many, and which some perceive as good and some perceive as not good. But when you are upon, when you are called for the duty, when the call is upon you, that yogaya yujyasva, so do it for the sake of yoga. Do it like a yoga or karma yoga. Karma, when it is done with yoga buddhi, it's called karma yoga. When karma action is performed with yoga buddhi, what is yoga buddhi? That detached engagement. Detached engagement. Sangam tyaktva, then kushalata buddhi. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. Efficiently, skillfully, masterly way. Do it at your best. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. The kushalata in every action, the dexterity, the skill and the efficiency showed in every action is called yoga. And then when do we get? When we heard so many things, we are so perturbed. When we get a guru, when we get this proper understanding and the teacher, that's when our mind is calmed, when our intellect is intensely seeking the truth and has come to terms with the external environmental, the perturbances, understanding the transient nature of the things, knowing what is good and what is not, realizing our duty and responsibility. So that Viveka Buddhi, giving up the Vishada, contemplating with Vichara, then acquiring the Viveka. So that Buddhi, when it settles down, so the settled intellect, the settled mind. So if you look at a lake, early morning there is fog. So that avarana, that covering is gone when the sunlight comes upon. And then when you look at the lake, so if you have just thrown a stone, there are ripples, and then they settle down. All the ripples will settle down. So the perturbations are gone. Then if you wait even for some more time, all the dirt settles down. So that mala is gone, that vikshepa is gone, that avarana is gone. So avarana is covering, that avidya. And then vikshepa, those ripples, the waves. And then the dirt settlement is mala is settled. So when this happens, tada yogam avapsyasi. So that's when we acquire our deeper nature. We get access to the infinite potential within us. So these are the definitions worth remembering. Yoga karmasu kaushalam, the dexterity and skill in what we do. Imagine this, cardiothoracic surgeons or the astronauts or the engineers, working with microchips, how gratefully they do. Or even a farmer, if you actually go see in the field, how skillfully he does. So that karmasu, in all activities, kaushalam, the skill, is called yoga. And the other definition is samatvam yoga uchyate. The evenness of the mind is called yoga. So here, if you look at these terms in English, equality, equity, equanimity, equipoise, equilibrium, and then EQ, sometimes we use emotional quotient. So equality, treating everyone equally, like communism. Equity, ensuring the fairness, who needs what, knowing that and providing it. Equanimity is our state of mind, the mental calmness in difficult situations, a calm and composed mental state. Equipoise, a state of balance and equilibrium, showing in our activity when we execute, when we implement this balanced mind and that's called equipoise. And equilibrium is these three things, I think, can be used interchangeably: equanimity, equipoise, and equilibrium. So equilibrium is the homeostasis, having that balanced state. Swami Ranganathananda used to say, homeostasis of the body is given to us by the God, because our temperature says 98.4, whether it is summer or winter in Alaska or in Texas. But equilibrium or homeostasis of the mind is the one which we should strive for and work all along in our life to reach that state of mental homeostasis or equilibrium of the mind, having this equipoise and equanimity. So here I've shown some pictures. This is a reality. The rich gets rich and the poor gets poor. But equality is like communism. Just provide a stool for everybody, tall person or a short person. Equity is knowing that this tall person doesn't really need to see the game there. Now the T20 finals are coming up. So this equity, you can look at a child who needs one stool so that he can see. But then again, a young child who needs two stools, so short that he really needs two steps to see. So that's called equity. So reality, equality, equity, and the liberation is taking away the fence completely. So that's and just something to picturesquely remember. So now I shall just go through this. What does yoga mean? Yoga, we talk so much about yoga. Yoga means not only the stretching of the body parts, but something more. Yoga means, I'll just read this and then you can read again once more, going over this. Yoga means uniting all and connecting with all, because it derives from the root dhatu, yuj. Yuj means connecting. Yoga means uniting all, connecting with all, yet detaching from all, attaching to one's own will. It's not an engaged detachment, it is detached engagement. It's not going away, it is actually getting involved with detachment. Yoga means equity in interaction, equipoise in every action, dexterity in each expression. Yoga means self-control, constant self-patrol, self-regulating will. Restraining thoughts, retraining thoughts. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha, Patanjali says. Streamlining thoughts, calmness of mind in acts. Yoga means readiness for action, steadiness of action, steadfastness in action, ability of mobility, stability in mobility. So this samatvam yoga uchyate, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Then another definition of yoga, moderation as mantra of adoration. Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, yukta swapnavabodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. Moderation. Yoga means evolution in life, elegance in work, eloquence in speech, moving out of ego space and moving into eco space, as Swami Chinmayananda says. Yoga means convincing gesture, comfortable posture, sthira, chera, sukha, asanam, living the values and virtues, yama and niyama. Yoga means controlling our senses, which are like horses, conquering anger force and other internal foes. Reveling in joy, not expecting joy at work, yet joyously expressing work. Not expecting happiness at work, but happily working, being creative, productive, and skillfully repetitive. Pursuit of excellence with belief in progress, experience of peace, justice, and happiness. Living the life childlike, but not in a childish way. Working with focus, with self as a locus, for self-purification and world glorification. Atmano mokshartham jagat hitayacha. Yoga means selfless action, utmost devotion, constant contemplation, knowledge of action and knowledge in action, seeing the action in inaction and inaction in the action. We'll go over this when we go through 5th chapter. Yoga means detachment from attachment to sorrow. In the 6th chapter, yoga is defined as detachment from attachment to sorrow. Dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga uchyate. Detachment from sorrow. So detachment from attachment to sorrow. Not buried in yesterday, not worrying about tomorrow, but living today. And now all these teachings up to 40, and Krishna says, so much has been taught, O Arjuna, and so much has been said even now. We don't understand anything. Maybe just 1 or 2 words here and there, 1 or 2 verses here and there. That's good enough. That's good enough. Because Krishna promises that this is good enough. He assures us. Neha bhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In this endeavor, in this study of Gita and applying and implementing and practicing and attending these sessions or studying for ourselves, there is abhikramanasha na asti. There is no loss of diminution. It's not that you lose a great deal if you didn't attend a class. You missed a few classes and then you just attended. So that abhikramanasha na asti. It's not that you have to read from first shloka to last shloka. Pratyavayo na vidyate. There are no side effects. Literally no side effects. No ill effects. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya. Even a little bit of it will help us, will relieve us from the greatest of the fear. And what is the fear? The fear is death. Death of our own self or the death of loved ones. So this wisdom gives us, because the whole understanding, as you have seen now, the 20 verses about Atma Tattva and 8 verses about Swadharma and the 2 hammer blow verses by Krishna. And then what is yoga? Yoga, definition of yoga. So far, all this, even a little bit of it, if we can understand, contemplate, that will help us. So in Telugu, there is a nice poem. Gangi govu palu గరిటెడైనను చాలు కడవెడైననేమి కరము పాలు భక్తి కలుగు కూడు పట్టెడైనను చాలు విశ్వదాభిరామ వినురవేం. A spoonful of milk from a sacred cow is enough. What's the use of a potful from a donkey? A handful of food that inspires the devotion, that is given with grace and received with grace, is sufficient. So says Vemana, the saint, poet, and prophet. So the focused mind at our work. So, what is in it for me? What should I take from this second message? Okay, I understood about birth and death. Okay, I understand about this yogic state. This one is good enough. Just focus. Focus on your work. Focus on your studies. Focus on what you do, even the cooking, the serving, and driving. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana bahushakha hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana bahushakha hyanantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Those who are resolute in their purpose, those who have the determined mind, their aim is only one, to reach the goal. But O Kurunandana, the intelligence of those, the mind of those who are not resolute is many branched. It goes everywhere. It is fizzled out. The focused mind will succeed and distracted mind is defeated. And Arjuna is the embodiment of focus. Because In childhood, when Drona means not Dronacharya. Drona means he was born in a droni, in an incubator, like in a crib. Droni means literally a crib. He was probably born premature and kept in crib. So because he was kept in droni, he's called Drona. So it is dear to me because I'm a baby doctor. So Dronacharya. So when he asks all the students, Arjuna, Dhritarashtra, Yudhishthira, and Duryodhana, Bhima, and all. So now I want you to hit the eye of the bird which was just placed, not the real bird. So then he asks everybody, okay, Bhima, what are you seeing? Oh, I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing all the great green trees and the greenery here and the tree and then branches. Then Yudhishthira says, yeah, I do see the tree you're pointing out, and I see the bird. But then finally Arjuna says, I'm only seeing the eye of the bird. So that is the target he has to shoot. So that is how the focus of Arjuna was talked about. So once more this shloka, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kuru nandana bahushakaya nantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. And I'll take 10 more minutes. So there is talk about Vedas, and Krishna talks about Vedas. And Vedas are divided mainly into Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. Because all these Pitru Tarpanas, and Arjuna talks about the loss of all these traditions, and the Shraddha which is given to Pitru Devatas. And not only that, and then many other rituals, so they are all lost, he says. No doubt they're very important, but the concept behind it is even more important. The faith behind it is even more important. And the mind with which you do is more important than a ritual. So the spiritual aspect of ritual is more important. If you look at only the first portion of Vedas, it all talks about the rituals, Karma Kanda. Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjana, Nirdvandvo Nitya Satvastha, Niryoga Kshema Atmavan, Yavan Artha Udapane, Sarvata Samplutodake, Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu, Brahmanasya Vijanataha. The one who has understood this very well. Okay, suppose there is a famous cardiothoracic surgeon. He knows, he has done, and he has been there, he has done that. And what is the point in just giving or asking him to go through the basic anatomy of the heart? But more importantly, if you really look at every day, so suppose we go to a new place, and then from our home to a new office, first day we may need a GPS. The second day we may need a GPS, maybe for a month. Then after that, you know the way very well. You don't need the GPS. So when you understand the essence of Vedas, you don't have to go after each part of it, or only focus on Karma Kanda, but focus on Jnana Kanda. That's what Krishna says here. In Mackinnon Gold, this is one of Gregory Peck's great movie, Omar Sharif. So he actually has this map of where the gold is. And so one fine day, he just throws that map into the fire and then just burns it away, because he knows now he doesn't need the map. So that is how it is talked about these Vedas. But let me talk a little bit about what is Veda and how many portions are there. What are Vedangas? So we have Vedaha Anantaha. The Vedas are unlimited. But Vyasa Maharshi, he compiled them and then edited them and arranged them in 4 parts. Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. Rig mainly hymns, Sama songs. Yajur, so the one which talks about how to perform these rituals, and Atharva, the machinery and other things. So Veda means knowledge. Veda means the fund of knowledge. So Veda, with means to know. Then we have 4 Vedas, and then we have Upavedas also. Upaveda is Ayurveda, which is well known, Gandharva Veda, Dhanurveda, the archery, then Artha Veda, then Sthapatya Veda, the architecture, how these temples are built. And if you go to some places, Brihadeshwaralayam and all, you'll be amazed, how these were built. So this is Sthapatya Vidya, that's called. So then this Vedas, it's a little confusing, but if you just remember only 2 parts, Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, that's good enough. So Karma Kanda, so we have Samhita. Samhita means collection of hymns. Brahmanas, where the rituals and instructions are given. Then Aranyakas. Aranyakas are, Aranya means forest. So those forest texts means they lead us into Upanishads. But there is an inner meaning of Aranyaka. Rana means war. Aranya means where there is no war. So Vanaprastha means going into Aranya means you are just going into a mental state where there is no conflict, no war in us. Then Upanishad. Upanishad as part of Aranyakas, part of Vedas, and this is Upanishad is at the end. So first half is Karma Kanda, second half is Jnana Kanda. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda. In Karma Kanda, you see Samhitas, Brahmanas. In Jnana Kanda, you see Aranyakas and Upanishads. Upanishad meaning, Upa means nearby. Ne means Nishchayena, with firm determination. Shat means you destroy your ignorance, or the Guru destroys the ignorance. Basically, the ignorance is destroyed when you sit with determination near the teacher. So that is Upanishad. Vedanta. The Vedanta is very commonly heard word. Vedanta. Veda, Anta. Anta means end. At the end of the Vedas, that means the Jnana Kanda, the last portion, the Upanishads is called Vedanta. Or the bottom line. Anta means the bottom line. Bottom line, practically it is bottom line. And philosophically also the bottom line. When we are telling the story, now we have been telling for 1 hour. So tell me the bottom line. So that bottom line. Then Vedangas. Shiksha, phonetics. Vyakarana, grammar. Chandas, meter. Nirukta, etymology. Jyotishya, astronomy. Kalpa, ritual. So these are Angas, means parts of the Vedas. So this ritual and spiritual, we talked about. The spiritual aspect of the ritual we should know. Then 5 minutes I'll spend on this verse. This verse is the most popular verse and mostly misunderstood. So you have to understand these 4 lines of this verse. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhuh ma te sangostva karmani. It has 4 lines. Karmani eva adhikaraha te. Second line, ma phaleshu kadachana. Third line, ma karma phala heturbhuh. Fourth, ma te sangaha astu akarmani. So karmanyeva adhikaraste. In karma, in the prescribed duty, in the act that which we are supposed to perform, eva, certainly, adhikaraha asti. So this adhikaraha, we have to understand it properly. We have to understand it properly. Raghuram Garu, from this yoga teacher, Yoga Bharati, he has one day explained so very well what exactly adhikara means. Adhikara is loosely translated into English by some English people as right. So this right is not the right translation of adhikara. Adhikara means adhikari. Adhikari means the one who is in power. So, but that is not right. The adhikari is elected to be in power and be responsible. So this adhikara means responsibility and eligibility and ability. and it is a qualification, and it is our control and will. This is all we have. This is all that we have in performing an act. We have the responsibility, we have the eligibility, we have the ability to act. But we have no right. This right means haq. This haq word is actually introduced when the Muslims ruled India. Haq. Haq is actually a Urdu word. Then haqqu it has become. But adhikara, if you really look at who is adhikari to read Gita, so he or she should possess 4 great qualities. So that adhikari, we have to know what is nitya vastu viveka, that we have to have that viveka buddhi. Then little vairagya buddhi, we have to give up certain things to learn this. So that's iha amutra phalabhoga viraga. Then we have to have some discipline, shamadhi shatka sampatti. And then we have to have that zeal to know about the self, yourself and higher self. That mumukshutvam, moksha me astu iti. So that is adhikari. So now you know that eligibility, qualification, or responsibility is adhikara. That's all we have. Maphaleshu kadachana, in the results. How do we have control over the results? It's not that we are not expecting results. We want good results. We want success. We want to be successful, but we don't have control on the result. Then makarma phala hetur bhuhu. We should not be the cause. We should not claim ourselves or blame ourselves. Okay, 2 things. We should not be claiming ourselves and blaming ourselves, more importantly, for these students, who just commit suicide if they fail in something. Love affairs, exams or something, not getting something that they want. So that claiming and blaming is not to be done. So makarma phala hetur bhuhu. And then, so we are not entitled to the fruits of action, and also we should never consider ourselves the cause of the results of the action. Then lastly, after understanding these 3 things, we should not be attached to inaction or not doing anything. Oh, whether you work or not, the result is the same, or whatever has to happen will happen. No, that should not be the attitude. So you act, you be efficient, you show enthusiasm. So that is the crux of this. Then we'll go over once again. कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि. Karmanyevadhikaraste, we have the eligibility, arhata, badhyata, responsibility to perform our duty. Ma phaleshu kadachana, the results are not in our control. Ma karma phala heturbhuh, do not blame or claim yourself to be responsible for the result. And mate sangostva karmani, never give in to the inactivity. Act and remain active. So blame or claim or fame. So just remind me, we can in Q&A we can answer that. So then, how do we know? How do we know that we don't have any responsibility, or we don't have any right in success or in the results of any action? Because there are other factors which are very much involved in success or failure of any act. In the 18th chapter, we find this answer. The shloka goes like this: Adhishthanam tatha karta karanam cha pruthak vidham vividhascha pruthak chestah daivam chaivatra panchamam. We will talk more in detail, but I'll tell you. First and foremost important thing is you should have a healthy body, the place of action, the body, adhishthanam. If you don't take care of your body, you are no good for doing any work. Tatha karta, the will, the doership in us is very important. That I can, that we can. And then karanam cha pruthak vidham, the various senses and the equipment should be available. You want to look at an organism under the microscope, you should have a proper microscope, but you should have a good vision also. So the various senses and equipment and instruments. So that's karanam cha pruthak vidam. Then many different kinds of opportunities, and where the opportunities should come. If you build a hospital, you need the patients. So the opportunity should be there. And ultimately, daivam cha atra panchamam. So these are 5 factors that is said in 18th chapter. So now Krishna concludes this by saying that, Hey Arjuna, so it's not just mere karma, but you have this buddhi yoga, karma yoga, transform karma into karma yoga. So I just included this because this is the key for the 3rd chapter question by Arjuna. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanamanvicha krupana phalahetavaha. So karma is inferior to buddhi. That's how. So Arjuna understood, but we will talk about that. So with that, we will conclude today's session, the 2nd portion of the 2nd chapter. And then next session, we will do Sthita Prajna Lakshanas, the 18 verses, which will start from here. So, what is the use in studying Gita? We are adhikaris, we just talked about. And the Vishaya which is dealt with within Gita is not only dharma, but also karma, but also Brahma. So all these are dealt with. And what is the use? What is in it for me? Yes, you can apply each and every aspect of what is discussed today in our day-to-day life. And all this is called sambandha, the interrelative connectivity. So Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu.